Hey, it's Lorelei with Radiate Life with Lorelei, and I am doing kind of a raw test today with my video streaming. Um, I have to reset everything. It's been a while, and with all the three almost adults living in my house and moving around, I had to do a few things. So anyway, I have my computer here, and I haven't you know, it's different on the phone. I realize I do so much on the phone that I forget. Hi, I forget kind of what's going on. I can't see, probably still see me. And I thought I would bring my, um, let me see. Yeah, it says, okay, so it says I'm live. So I thought, well, maybe I will definitely have to turn off the volume and see if I see any of the live or see any chat here. Um, okay, all right. So that looks like the chat is going to kind of work. I wanted you to see my shirt today. This is one thing that I have committed to for next 4 years. Is every day I'm wearing a new Pride shirt. This one says Pride and Prejudice, so I love this one. Um, yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to type chat in here. Okay, probably didn't type chat. I probably typed something else. And yeah, so if you're, I see two people are here. We got a like. Thank you for the like. And if anyone else has anything to say, it looks like okay. So good. This is a good test run. Thank you for being here. I want to say that so I have been working on doing videos and sharing them, and Facebook changed the lives. But today this is an impromptu and a raw. I'll probably be here for about 15 minutes. Again, not really. I don't have an agenda. I don't have a plan. Hey, Cricket Cinema. So good to see you. Thank you so much for your loving support, for encouragement. And I saw your graphics on Natalie Webster's Life After Cult. So amazing. That's so great. I wondered if that was you. So, um, thank you. Okay, great. So it's coming through. So anyway, this is like the behind the scenes peek of what my setup is going to be. I'm in my basement. And like I said, I have kids coming and going. I'll just real briefly, I'll just say that I live outside of Chicago. It's really cold right now, 17 degrees. Um, I've been at home with my kids for the past 16 years. They needed me. There's a lot of things in their own life, a lot of neurodivergence. They're very intelligent, high achievers, and I just have always been here to navigate the goings on between school and them, getting their life going, and learning a lot of techniques. Not being able to pay for a lot of services. I really love being able to help and encourage other people. I've been a big volunteer. So I think what I'll start is just by saying that really the reason why I'm here and I made it to my 50, it comes from my beautiful activist community. It comes from these people that I have seen I look forward to meeting. I told my kids I never thought I would be a YouTube, follower, but it's really about advocacy, right? It's about advocacy and it's about doing what we can do and it's about supporting each other. And I went down this rabbit hole that I really never thought that I would, meaning with Scientology. Um, oh, thank you. Any graphic needs? Absolutely. Ah, and yeah, and if you have anything to share too that you want me to post, you have a business. Part of what I want to do here is we definitely need to be knowing what each other is doing as far as in business. Yes, in advocacy, but this is about sustainability. If you've been in a cult like I've been in a cult, I've been in a controlling environment. I was raised by a narcissist. You know, and when I look at people every day, I pretty much assume that everyone that I'm in contact with right now has either been in this high control environment. Um, I would have to say everybody has had some form of SA, And like I check all these boxes. It's all these boxes that you never wanted to check. And so um, one thing I'll say I learned from that is that when I was young and I was a part of a cult, they took my innocence, they took my idealism, they took my energy, my creativity, my thirst, and they manipulated me. And they used me for their own ego gratification in a way of using my creativity and making my schedule so full and so committed that I had no time to do anything else. I worked a part time job. Um, I could tell you a little bit more about my early life, but I came in as a person that had really been hurt, had seen a lot of devastation. I came from a very dark family, of course, like so many, and said, I know that there are things that I can do in this world to make this a better place, right? And so I just kind of lived my life to do that. And because of that, I really got kind of sucked into other people who were narcissists, high control. I was in a cult for 7 years. I joined another cult for a year. I was in another, not so much abusive physically, but again, somebody who was willing to, in a metaphysical, it's all metaphysical. None of this is, I would say, Christian, religious. I went down that path early on. So that's what happened. Like I had all this creativity and went towards helping someone else. I had all this creativity and went towards meeting the demands of everyone else. Even as a mom, like I've said, I've been grateful to be here. My kids have really needed me, but my kids are now 16 and 17 and 22. And yes, neurodivergence is real. And yes, it's important to have that stability. And yes, it's that part in which, like all of us, what happens with all of us is that we have to take whatever skills we have and make it for ourselves. So that is what I'm teaching them too, is you have to have the foundation for yourself. You have to be the one that makes sure that you have food on the table, that you have your physical, mental, emotional needs. And once you have that, then you move out and you help other people. And I would say, like, as where I am in my own life, like I love my activism work. I have lots of different volunteer work I've done, but I also have to get out and make sure that I'm creating something that is going to be a business for me. And for me, it's a service business. Ah, thank you. Okay, so Cricket Cinema says, I work in mental health, and you sound like my kind of mom. I was a queer activist in the 1990s. Oh, that's really sweet. That's really, really sweet. So I love that, and thank you for doing that. And so when I was in my cult, it was in the 1990s. See, when I was in the cult, and I have only said the name of the cult twice, and I eventually will, but people that are in that cult are still not talking about it. And that is why coming into Scientology, where I never realized the children were being abused, were being hurt, but abuse. I never knew this. And it's only been the last 6 months that I've learned all these things about Scientology. And as I'm going through Scientology and how it hurts people and adults, and how it manipulates them and how it takes advantage of them. And I really saw myself in this other cult and in my own narcissistic family life and in this shamanic cult, I'll just call it that, a high control group. And I recognize that I connect. So even though I may have never been a Scientologist, that's called a never in. I know about Scientology, but I never knew what it did. Like, it's the YouTubers, it's of course, like, the public at large. I heard and got connected through Leah Remini, because she was an actress and she was famous, and she started telling her story, and I kind of went down this rabbit hole a number of years ago, being obsessed about how people are being hurt and what we can do about it, right? And of course, being at home with my kids again and giving them what they needed. Just then we're hit by a lockdown, and they're never 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, I thought, now's my time. My kids are getting on with things, and then boom, everything is shut down, right? So myself, like a lot of other people, were kind of recovering from that. Um, oh, thank you. Yeah, cricket, cinema. I'm gonna read this because I listening to someone's video the other day, and I was walking around. I couldn't see what they were commenting on, so I'm gonna read it. So just thank you so much for sharing it. You share, you live. Okay, you're okay. You're lived beautifully. Thank you. Revisiting painful experiences to help others is kind and brave. I'm grateful. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. And I'm really inspired by the stories that so many other people have shared. I probably have about 5 more minutes. If you have any questions, Cricket Cinema, that you want me to answer, really today I thought I'm going to test it. I'm going to see what's working and what's not working. And with this, what else did I want to say? Like I could start like right, like where do you start? Like if you brand new, where do you start? So it was the 1990s. My father was and stepfather was an alcoholic. I was the kind of kid, which was crazy, crazy, but I was the kind of kid who my parents would say, would give me a good, be honest, be accountable, save your money, don't overspend. Basic common sense, everyday things. Think about being in the 60s, right? 50s and 60s was more the kind of their mindset, but they didn't do it. So they told me a lot to lie, and yet they lied to me. And I learned early on, we might call that as an empath, but I was a very frustrating child to them because they would say something and do another, and I would notice. Now I'm 3 years old and I'm noticing this kind of thing, and they're punishing me for being honest. So very quickly, even when the abuse happened, and even when I was able to tell them about the abuse that was happening, some of it was happening from uh, in our home, family members. Some of it was a babysitter's son, other kids in the neighborhood, and it was from the time we moved into the neighborhood. I was 5, so it started at 5. And it ended when I was about 10. Because when I was about 10, I was able to confide in another family member who lived in another part of the country, who was 11. They were 11, and they said, this has got to stop. I have to bring this out." So she actually was one person that I do credit for having my family listen to me, and honestly, it's because she knew, and now other family members would know that they stepped in to make it stop. And I would say that at 10 years old, I figured out what I had to do to keep myself safe, which that meant being out of the house. It meant not being alone. It meant not going over to neighbors' homes. It meant always having an escape plan. So you probably relate to this too. It's like you learn how to live your life in fight or flight because at every turn there is someone who is going to hurt you. And they're very good at telling you and trying to get you to trust them. And you're the one who's untrustworthy because you see the truth. So when I was 25 years old, I'll just say the short part of it because I'll have to get going here is I understand what it's like. I totally get what it's like to be drawn into a cult. I absolutely never thought that I was going to be drawn into a cult. I'll tell you this little point of interest. So my parents were worried about me, but it was only mostly, I know they love me. My mom's a little different, but the two of them together, mostly it was because now I was no longer in their control. Because once I got under the control of the cult, once I got in control, I was being pulled away from my family. I was being just only able to associate with people who were in that metaphysical cult, the high control environment. There was more demands put on me. There was more things that I had to do. And again, it was so inviting. It was so invigorating. It felt really good to be helping people. And again, like so many, the part of it was, we're going to heal the world. We're going to bring about world peace, and that those bigger idealistic things just sucked us in, and they just turned that energy and used it against us, right? And once you get in, and once you start helping, and then once you help more people, and And there's just it never stops. And then when you get to the point like I did, I got to a point where, because the demands were so high and I could only work part-time in order to fulfill the needs, I only made enough money, I only worked enough in order to pay my bills, because there it was 1,000% volunteer. And if you couldn't pay the bills for the metaphysical centers, they had houses converted into centers, then there was a big guilt trip that you really were responsible for paying those bills. And this is kind of where the, of course, a cult is never going to say that we made you do that, but they forced situations and they put us into places where we felt shameful. We felt shameful that we weren't teaching enough people. We felt shameful that we weren't selling enough books. And so we made enough money in order to pay our bills to not go into debt, because all the money, all the finances was posted publicly. People were publicly called out and humiliated for not being able to pay the bills. Personal bills? No, the bills of the school. And I would say that when I ended that, um, yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, it was. I'm glad I had that family relative. Thank you, Cricket. Um, so at the end of the day, what happened was, fast forward to the end. So in the last couple of years, besides being lied to and calling people out and people telling me, you, we're constantly being told, be mature and teach more people, and, do things for the school, do projects for world peace, and grow into spiritual maturity. And people aren't responsible enough in the world today, and you need to be ultra responsible and ultra impeccable. And it does tie into that mindset of, by you being better, you being impeccable, that you're helping the other people who are not able to do that. And if you don't do that, then the world is going to fall apart and you're going to be responsible. How are you going to live with that? That's another message that was being told to us, and constantly indoctrinated into us, and that we were no one outside of it. You got to a certain point where you just wanted to finish. Anyway, what happened at the very end when I did leave is, there were individuals that we all had jobs to do, and the cult part of it was once you got past the first year. The first year was about, oh no, come in, do what you want to do. Yes, we have some rules, but we want this to be fun. We want this to be engaging. It's a big party. And then once you cross this threshold into the second series of lessons, which probably only about 3 or 5% were really going into at that point, um, that's when the manipulation, that's when the cult-like behavior really started to take. And once you cross that threshold, you went like kind of down into a deep dark hole, and you had to try to climb your way out, because no one else was going to help you. And if you ever left, then everybody was going to talk bad about you and make up stories. You were not going to have anybody to help you, because you were going to be it. You had no money, you had no friends, you'd alienated yourself from your friends and your family. They did not encourage mental health either. You neglected yourself, but a lot of these people were in their early 20s, or they were people that had families and were re-entering into something different, more idealistic in their 50s. So it was 20-year-olds, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. And yes, everybody had to be really able-bodied. And they never said that a lot. And then they also said, oh, you could be in any church, which isn't true, because none of it is compatible with church. And they also said that you can be queer, it's fine, and it wasn't, because teaching after teaching after teaching would say different things. Think along hardline Christian Bible. There was an underline of Bible that was taught, but there was all Holy Scriptures that were taught. And of course, I left before I ever started my family, before my beautiful queer children came into my life. And I was really grateful that I did. I mean, I would have eventually left, but it was really good. So, all right, I got to go get my teenager out for a job interview. So thank you so much for being here. And I'll post a little more, and if there's any questions, like I said, write them down and I'll prepare. Next time I'll do a little bit more formalized. But thank you so much. I think it worked out for our first time. And of course, the biggest thing is that I believe in your dream and I'm really here to help you. You and only you can do it, is reclaim your power, take your power back, create that place where nobody can pull you out of your power and who you are. So thank you very much. And thank you, Cricket Cinema. I enjoyed hearing you. You're good at engaging with the screen. Oh, that's better because I never used to be. And to clarify about the art, it's my oh, okay. It's a donation to the community. Oh, good. Well, we'll talk about that. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I'm really glad that you said that because one thing I did post as far as what's the engagement. So the engagement right now in the larger community, right, that I've again been really embraced into the closing down Scientology and no more kids in Scientology. So that's like one of the big things I'm working towards is no more kids in Scientology. And as a never in, I do feel like I can help other people who were like me who didn't understand about this. I'll close by saying I read Dianetics when I was 8 years old. I grew up in the Southern California, LA suburbs. I had a neighbor who joined Scientology. I'll tell you that. And I also had a boyfriend when I was 18. After we broke up, he and his girlfriend won money on a game show, like Welcome to LA, right? And the next thing I knew, they were in Scientology. Now, I did check the other day, and I don't know if they're still a Scientologist, but this is somebody who went on to become, they're very famous in a specific area. So I don't really want to say all that. But it's just mind blowing that this person that I know knows about all these things happening to children. It's someone that I know could be involved in that is just it's heartbreaking. So we got to do something to help, and I would love to contribute to that campaign. Okay, I better go. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day.